शुरू करें। आज का दिन ये इल्म हुनर का, फिक्र अमल की फतेह व जफर का। आज का दिन ये इल्म हुनर का, फिक्र अमल की फतेह व जफर का। आज शिकस्त जुल्मात शब है, आज फरोगे नूर का दिन है। अपने लहू का परचम लेकर आज के दिन मजलूम उठे थे। अपने लहू का परचम लेकर आज के दिन मजलूम उठे थे। एक नए उनवा की रिवायत, एक नए दस्तूर का दिन है। सो I would like to begin that we are here uh, to celebrate the National Constitution Day on 26th, which observed every day, every year on 26th November 2020, every 26th November. And for this, Professor Shahid Ali Khan, Dean Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Zeba Akil, Head Humanities and Social Sciences, Integral University, or distinguished guest speaker Dr. Aslam Khan, or faculty members and or beloved student and other participant. A very good morning to all of you. I, Dr. Muhammad Chavez, Assistant Professor, Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, warmly welcome to all of you for one of the most important day of for us as a citizen of India. Today we are gathered here for celebrating National Constitution Day. Uh, this Constitutional Day is observed on every year on 26th of November. And on this day, the Republic of India got its constitution after spontaneous and diligent efforts made by the member of the then Constituent Assembly. And despite of having massive diversity and differences among Indians, uh, one of the finest speaker and thinkers on our constitutions, which is Granville Austin, he said that our constitution is the document that unified the voices of the framer and argued that the primary aim of the members of the assembly, and that was fostering the goal of social revolution, and this was matched only by an interest in securing national unity and stability. And on our constitution, we have number of interpretation, we have uh, number of perceptions and remarks. For example, this is the largest constitution in the world, and some says that, for example, Amartya Sen says that this is the constitution by which we Indians make ourselves argumentative. And on the other hand, some people also tell this is a people's constitution. And some has also argued that this constitution is a transformative in nature and it is still working and making since 1949. So in this sense, the constitution was above all a social and not simply a political document. Again, I would like to mention Austin, the engine of this social revolution emerged from both the pressing need of the newly independent country and the result of sacrifices made by our freedom fighters and their long experience of anti-colonial nationalism. However, the Constitution of India has long history of its making and so many peculiarities which we have for knowing these peculiarity, we have distinguished speaker who will deliver talk on Bhartiya Samvidhan, a cornerstone of India's democracy. Or today's distinguished speaker, who is Dr. Aslam Khan, is associate professor in Department of Gandhian and Peace Studies, Mahatma Mahatma Gandhi Central University, Bihar, India. Prior to this, he served as a professor of international relations and dean faculty of social science and management sciences, Yobe State University in Nigeria. He also served as associate professor in the Department of Political Science and International Studies at Bahidar University, Ethiopia. Dr. Khan also served as associate professor and head Department of Political Science and Administration. Uh, at Yobe State University, Nigeria. He also served Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh, India, as Assistant Professor of Political Science. Dr. Khan has also served as a visiting professor at University of Maiduguri, Nigeria, and Amhara Leadership Academy, Ethiopia. Dr. Khan has been very actively engaged in his research pursuit concerning African politics, US and South Asia, Indo-Pacific peace and conflict studies, and nuclear issues. His more recent publications include a book titled Great Game in Indo-Pacific, Rediscovering India's Pragmatism and Paradoxes, published by Taylor and Francis, and three-chapter entitled Disarmament Policies. Institutionalization of Nonviolence and Military Deterrence and Statecraft, an Encyclopedia of Violence, Peace and Conflict, edited by Lester Kurtz and published by Elsevier. He has also extensively written several articles on African politics, especially on Nigeria and Ethiopia, published by Sage and Routledge. Dr. Khan is also the member of editorial board of several reputed journals, including Cambridge Scholar, Springer, and Routledge. He also served as reviewer for scores of international peer review journals. He also served as a member of International Advisory Committee for various international conferences. He is also the member of the International Political Science Association, IFSA Canada, International Studies Association, ISA, USA, Midwest Political Science Association, USA, and Indian Political Science Association, IFSA. He is also associated with International Peace Research Association, IPRA, and member Executive Council of Asia Peace Research Association. For my side, he is one of the he is the finest speaker to speak on this national and prestigious day, which we are celebrating in form of National Constitution Day. Now, I would like to request our HOD, Professor Zeba Akil, to welcome our distinguished speaker.
I welcome and congratulate you all to celebrate this day when our constitution was adopted and it is celebrated as Indian Constitution Day. Of our speaker, good introduction of the speaker, though nothing is left for me to say, but I am really obliged and honored that Dr. Aslam Khan took time from his busy schedule and joined us. We wanted to celebrate this occasion in offline mode, but as our midsem examinations have started today, so we were not in a position to do that. So we requested Dr. Aslam to kindly deliver a lecture on this YouTube, and this will go in memories. This will also become a history that Faculty of Humanities celebrated in this way due to paucity of time. So I am really obliged and honored that he took out time, and on a very short notice he accepted our invitation. So welcome, Dr. Aslam, and I hope and I am really assured that your lecture would be enlightening to our students, to our faculty members, and in future days to come. Welcome, sir. Sir, now you may begin with your lecture. Kindly unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yeah.
First of all, I am highly grateful to the Integral University Lucknow, especially Professor Zeba Akil, Head Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Shahid Ali Khan, Dean Humanities and Social Sciences, and my special thanks to Dr. Khurshid, who has invited me for this lecture. When he invited me for this lecture, I was in Central University of South Bihar, Gaya, and I was traveling this time to my hometown Aligarh. So I thought this lecture will be in offline mode, but it was in online, so it is comfortable for me to deliver this lecture. And the title of today's lecture is Indian Constitution or Bhartiya Samvidhan, a cornerstone of India's democracy. If we talk of democracy, Democracy has been the most important aspect of discourse, both within the academia and among the political actors in various parts of the world. Its relevance lies at the roots of its utility for the well being of the people, and it has been passed through different phases of construction and reconstructions, right from the Greek political thought to the modernism and postmodernism. And it became a kind of blessed political doctrine from civic and political culture, defined laws, rule of law, and representative governments, particularly after John Locke and Jeremy Bentham. And after World War II, democracy became a kind of global feature, a political culture to be adopted by the most of the members of the United Nations. If we look back the development of democracy with high moral and ethics, so India has been a great civilization, a nucleus of the world, and shown the world a path of peaceful living with great humanistic values. And the classical texts such as religious texts such as Ramayana, Mahabharata, and other these had been the cornerstone of the great ethical values and put emphasis on right and duties, because this whole constitution, it's having the ingredients of the right and duties. So this right and duties, for example, if we take the example of the ancient Indian text in Mahabharata, then Dronacharya and the master of weapons Bhishma, these two prominent figure of that particular Kuru empire, they joined the group of Kauravas against their own will because of the right and duties. And despite knowing all right and wrong, they didn't run away from their duties. So what problem we are facing in the modern or the Indian contemporary Indian societies? People are more concerned of the rights, but they are not concerned about their duties. And recently, while addressing the UN General Assembly, our Prime Minister of India made an important observation or a historical point that India is not just the world's largest democracy, but also the mother of democracy. And our democracy has been successful democracies in the world because our great constitution is the cornerstone of Indian democracy, where liberty, equality, fraternity, and justice are the main guiding principles. And to quote Ambedkar here, uh, I quote, we must make our political democracy a social democracy as well. And political democracy cannot last unless there lies at the base of the social democracy. What does social democracy mean? It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity as the principle of life. And the principle of liberty, equality, and fraternity are not to be treated as separate items in a trinity. They form a union of trinity in the sense that to divorce one from the other is to defeat the very purpose of the democracy. So these three components were termed very important, and uh, as we know that our formation of the constitution just began with the constituent assembly. And as we know, the idea of a constituent assembly was first proposed by M.N. Roy in 1934, but this idea was manifested in 1946 as constituent assembly was formed formally under the cabinet mission plan. The Constituent Assembly was formed for the purpose of writing a constitution for independent India, and the member of this assembly were elected indirectly, for example, by the members of the provincial assemblies by the method of single transferable vote of proportional representation. Uh, initially, this Constituent Assembly were having 389 members, but later partition of India reduced the members to 299. And among 299 members, this 229 were from the British provinces and 70 were came through nomination by the princely states. And I must mention here, Dr. Sachidanand Sinha was the first temporary chairman of the Constituent Assembly, but later Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president, and its vice president was Harendra Mukherjee, and B.N. Rao as the constitutional advisor. And the assembly first met on 9 December 1946. And the committees of the Constituent Assembly of India, with their chairman, there were 8 committees. There, one was drafting committee headed by the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The other one, the second one was the Union Constitution Committee headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Then Union Powers Committee also headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Then State Committees also headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Then Steering Committee was headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and the Rules of Procedure Committee was also headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Then the Provincial Constitutional Committee was headed by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And these were some advisory committees in terms of fundamental rights, minorities, tribal, and other excluded areas. So the time is taken by the assembly to frame the constitution was, since some students of political science are also joined this lecture, so it is important to mention here it took 2 years, 11 months, and 17 days. And the final document had 22 parts, 395 articles, and 8 schedules. And the assembly had met for 11 sessions. And the draft was published in January 1948. And the country's people were asked for their feedback and inputs within 8 months. There were some there were a call for feedbacks from the people, and 8 month times was given that time. So the last session was held during 14 to 26 November 1949, and the constitution was passed and adopted by the assembly on 26 November 1949, which day we are observing now, and we are having deliberation on this very important subject. So the constitution came into force on 26 January 1950, which is celebrated as the Republic Day of India. And the original constitution have been considerably changed by the various amendments in time to time that have been brought forth, such as the 7th, 42, 44th, and 73rd, and of course 74th amendments. The what and this the framing of the constitution is having an influence from the outside world also. That founding father of the constitution borrowed several features from different countries such as US, Britain, Australia, Irish, Germany, Canada, and South Africa, and formed a constitution that best suits the need of India. So the important amendments of the constitution, if we talk about, then the Indian constitution is a flexible constitution, not a rigid one, and it can be amended by the parliament by due procedures and set rules. So the important amendments of the constitution are 42nd Amendment and 44th Amendment. In 42nd Amendment is also known as the mini constitution because it made several sweeping changes to the constitution. This was during the emergency in 1976. In 1973, the Supreme Court had ruled the Keshwanand Bharti case that the constituent power of the parliament under Article 368 doesn't empower it to alter the basic structure of the constitution. So, and again, the right to liberty was further strengthened by the provision that law for preventive detention cannot authorize in any case detention for a longer period than 3 months unless an advisory board has reported that there is sufficient cause for such detention. And in 44th Amendment Act in 1978, it was introduced to provide adequate safeguard against the recurrence of the tendency to take over the fundamental rights by the transient majority in the future, and to ensure to the people an effective voice in determining the form of government under which they are to live. And again, the 44th Amendment of this removed the right to property from the list of fundamental rights. A new provision, Article 300A, was added to the Constitution, which provided that no person shall be deprived of his property save by the authority of law. Then we come to the preamble of the Constitution, and this preamble of the Constitution is having 4 important components. Before that, I must mention here this preamble is based on Jawaharlal Nehru's objective resolution that was moved by him in the Constituent Assembly, and the preamble has been amended in 1976 by 42nd Amendment, which I previously mentioned, and it added the words socialist, secular, and integrity to the preamble. And for the students, I will mention here what is the objective resolution. The objective resolution Nehru proposed to the Constitution of India on the 30th December 1946, which laid down the principle of the Constitution. The objective resolution provides the philosophy of the Constitution. The resolution was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 22nd January 1947. Now I come to the ingredients of the preamble. The 4 important components are: number 1, the source of authority of the Constitution. It mentions that the Constitution derives its power from the people of India. The second one is nature of the Indian state. It says that India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, and republican state. Third one is the objectives of the Constitution. It gives the objective as justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. And the last one is the constitution date of adoption, and that was, of course, 26 November 1949. And in the preamble, that I am going to read the preamble now. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens uh, what justice, justice, it will be social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, that assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. And in our constant assembly, the 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this constitution. So this was the preamble. When we go to the constitution, that I will touch upon fundamental rights, that is part 3 of the constitution. That the general definition is the article 13, the law inconsistent with or a derogation of the fundamental rights, that these are right to equality, equality before law, and the provision of the discrimination on grounds of religion, sex, caste, sex, or place of birth. So equality of opportunity, abolition of untouchability, and abolition of titles. So this was the right of equality. Then right to freedom. Right to freedom is protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech, protection in respect of conviction for offenses, protection of life and personal liberty, 21. Then 21A, right to education. Then 22, protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Then right against exploitation, it starts with Article 23, the provision of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Then 24 is the provision of employment of children in factories, means child labor. Then again, it comes to the right to freedom of religion. It starts from Article 25 to 28, the freedom of conscience and free profession, practice, and propagation of religion, freedom to manage religious affairs. That we can see that this temple, mosque, and other churches are being maintained by the people of the different faith. The freedom as to payment of taxes for promotion of any particular religion. So everybody is paying tax, and everywhere we are paying tax, this GST and all, and this toll tax and all. The freedom as to attendance at the religious instruction or religious worship in certain educational institutions. Then cultural and educational rights. Uh, these start from Article 29 to 31. 31 has been repealed. So the protection of interests of minorities, it also come into the cultural and education rights. Then right of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions, that so many minority institutions are being established and administered by the minorities. Aligarh University and Jamia Millia Islamia, these are the prominent, two prominent institutions are the example in the case. Then are the saving of certain laws, that start from Article 31A to 31D. Then saving of laws providing for the acquisition of estates, validation of certain acts and regulations. Then again, it comes to the right to constitutional remedies, the remedies for enforcement of the right conferred by this part. Then Article 33 is the power of Parliament to modify the rights conferred by this part in their application to forces. Then restriction on rights conferred by this part while martial law is in force in any area, Article 34. Then last Article 35, legislation to give effect to the provisions of this part. So these were the some important fundamental rights given in the Constitution of India. Then Article 51A, that is concerned with the fundamental duties. So India borrowed this concept of fundamental duties from USSR, and the inclusion of fundamental duties brought our Constitution in line with Article 29(1) of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights, and with provisions in several modern constitutions of other countries. And the main provision, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the national anthem, and to cherish and follow the noble ideas which inspired our national struggle for freedom. So these are, I am not going to detail all the fundamental duties, but I will say here that despite that we are having these fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and India has been claimed as successful democracies among the world. But despite that, we are facing several challenges since we were new to the democratic system. And the forefathers of the democracy, since if we take the example of the Britain here, that when Britain was having a full flow of the democracy in Great Britain, at the same time when they were ruling India, they were having different parameters. So this Western world having basing their whole structure on the morality and ethics, that can be questioned in that case. That when you are ruling your own, when you are managing the affairs of your own country, then you are having a different system. But when you are managing the or ruling the other countries and other colonies, that you are having the different parameters. So it makes a question marks on their morality and ethics. And when we see our democracy in the present time, then we see major challenges of democracies here in India. And these challenges are, despite being the largest democracy of the world and people exercising freedom of expression, movement, and religion, and India is progressing enormously in the competition of emerging powers or superpowers, I would say, and also has been developing and transforming economically and socially. But these are some serious lacunas or challenges of inequalities, injustice, or some sort of non-fulfillment of expectation of certain section of the society. And these challenges especially are poverty, healthcare, low literacy rate, caste and gender discrimination, communalism and religious fundamentalism, corruption and political violence, regionalism, of course, population, overpopulation, unemployment. And if we take poverty as a case, then we can see there is a huge divide in terms of rich and poor in India. And this poverty is having a kind of a structure, or we can call it a structural violence in the language of the peace studies. That structural violence is not visible kind of the violence, since direct violence is a very much visible. So, in structural violence, these are some kind of the structures that are hampering India's progress. That poverty elevation programs are going on. So many government schemes are going on. Still, we have the people, they are living below poverty line, and we are having some kind of the ration cards for those people, that these people are below poverty line, and the government is distributing different kind of the ration system, like wheat, other kind of the food grains to the people, and some other materials. But the main question is how to eradicate poverty. And despite having a very flexible law, and we are claiming of that social justice, that we are having, we are a kind of the welfare state that we are progressing, and we are having this arrangements of uh, federalism, for instance, that every state is having a right to govern their own people based on their caste, linguistic, and all. So, despite that, several schemes that we are having this center-state relationship, and we are having so many mechanism, but poverty is still a big challenge for India's progress. And we have seen this case during COVID. And I will also mention here healthcare issues, since this is the 75 years we are just celebrating the Amrit Mahotsav, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. But you have seen the rate of healthcare during the COVID-19. Then this whole discourse and the whole this healthcare infrastructure or institutions has been exposed to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the people were dying like anything. And thanks to our civilizational mechanism, that people were having this kind of ayurvedas and other kind of the uh, knowledge with them, so they tackle some of the issues with that. But despite that, this, you see that by the lack of oxygen or lack of medicines, lack of equipments. Thousands of people died during COVID-19. And still, for the poor or the have-nots, health is a big challenge. If you are having money, you can go to any big hospital. If you are having card insurance, you can go to any big hospital. Despite government has launched some schemes regarding the health, but still it is not fulfilling the need of the people, and healthcare remains a big challenge for India's growth or India's progress. Then low literacy rate, despite several campaigns for literacy, uh, we are still facing serious challenges of literacy, that some of the states, they are having very low literacy rate. And when we talk of education, for instance, now education has also been also in the transformation state, that we are seeing that so many private players are coming into the picture, and these public institutions that are having reputations, are their reputations are decaying day by day because of the lack of funding, lack of infrastructure, because of science and technology and the other kind of the researches. We need a big kind of the budget, and these budgets are being cut, and universities are told to generate their own resources. So in that competition, these private players are having upper hands. That's so many successful private institutions I can see around here in NCR, that Jindal, this MET, and so many institutions are working here, and they are working well, they are progressing well. Uh, so so this is a big challenge, that how, because when we are surrendering our sovereignty to the state, and our these rights, that becomes some fundamental rights under the purview of the constitution, then government is having all responsibility to provide a better education and healthcare. And these two sectors are suffering badly in India, because the fees of those public institutions are so much high, and the poor who have right to education, they are now facing a big challenges, that we have seen the upsurge in the fees of IITs and IIMs and other public institutions. And caste and gender discrimination is, of course, a big challenge for Indian democracy, that in still we are having so many caste conflict or gender discrimination or violence against women. Still we are reporting that not a single day we are finding in the news that these were some several cases of the rape or brutality against the women. Then again we see some kind of the caste conflict every day. We can read in our newspapers or the other electronic news or media. So this is also a big challenge. And since Bihar, I am working that during 1990, it is a big caste conflict between the upper caste and the lower caste in Bihar. And this whole success of this regional parties, it is also playing the caste is playing a very important part in India. We can in UP, for instance, where we are based, Lucknow or Aligarh, then we can see the rise of this political parties, regional parties, totally on the basis of the caste. That party of the Samajwadi Party of Mulayam Singh, or either the Mayawati Party, or the other parties that are emerging out of. So the same discourse, they are emerging on the basis of the caste and other kind of the discrimination. Yes, the next challenge is communalism. Communalism is also a big challenge for our contemporary present time democracy. And of course, religious fundamentalism, the kind of the communal politics are being played in all elections, that without communal fervor, the election cannot be completed in India. It's a very, that serious concern when we talk of democracy and the elections are being fought on the caste and communalism. It's a serious issues when we are just projecting us as a liberal democracy, one of the successful democracy. And of course, religious fundamentalism also playing a very important part. So the and other one is corruption, political violence, and regionalism. So regionalism is playing a very important part. Then you see, whenever the election is being conducted, then people are being told, okay, Hindi speaking people, these are the Bihari peoples, these are the other. So this kind of the identity is being with the people when there is an election. And of course, the corrupt practices that we can see in the just in the local elections or the state elections, that what kind of the corruption in terms of the money, in terms of the liquor, and other kind of the things that are being involved in conducting or in the affairs of the elections and the other kind of the things. And the corruption is very much paramount in all institutions, that simply if you go for a certificate for either birth certificate or either other kind of the certificate, if you want that particular certificate in time, then you need to offer something to the people who are sitting on the chairs. So this kind of the things have become a kind of the culture, because people claim that this kind of things are their right. You go for the driving license, for instance, you will find the people, they are following the due process, how much difficulties they are facing. If you are just paying the bribe to someone, then you are going to get your document in time or with perfection. So this kind of the things has taken a kind of shape or structure. So this structure is very much necessary to dismantle. uh, then again, the overpopulation, the this population, the kind of the rise in population, it is a serious cause of concerns, because we are a big country, and everybody in a welfare state or in a democracy, when we talk of the social justice, need to have the right to employment, right to a good life, or normal life. That for that matter, the government has to make arrangements, and this overpopulation is just adding another challenge to the Indian government or the people of India. And again, the unemployment is a very serious thing, that we can see in last 10-15 years, that how these private companies or the private players came in the pretext of globalization or the free market economy, and various companies, various uh, enterprises came to India, and this privatization kind of the concept came into the effect. Now we can see all the public institutions are being privatized, either railways, airports, or other kind of the institutions. And this foreign direct investment, they are having the kind of the public private partnership, we are having that kind of the model. But the closer or this handing over the public institutions to the private hands, it again heading to a discrimination in terms of their own designs. They want to run their affairs in their own matter. So this is also a very serious concern. And our youth, we are opening more universities, some private universities were coming. I'm just giving one example. You just remember 10-15 years back, 10 years back, not more than 10 years or 10-15 years, then these were some chai shops or pan shops. These were institutions for MBA engineering and all. So or this B.Ed. Now these all institutions have been closed, and the stuff that came out from those institutions, the kind of the facilities or the labs or the kind of the arrangements those institutions were having, they're very poor, or they were not having. They were just paying money, and their this whole kind of the accreditation exercise was done by the different people or the different committees they were coming for. So that also added that I am an engineering graduate, I am a B.Ed, or I am an MBA, but I'm not getting job. So the concern is that since we are having a very prominent public institutions, we need to strengthen them. And whenever we are planning something, that if we are having input, where that output will go. So our focus is on input, that we are opening more and more institutions, either in the political pressure or either to the board politics. uh, but where this output will go, so our concern or the government concern should be focus on the output, input output both, but output is very important. Wherever these graduates or the engineers or the other students that will go after completing their degrees. So India is having and still we are having very so much social movements, including farmer movements, minorities, and others. But all these movements are being held democratically, in the spirit of democracy. We had the largest farmer movement. We were having the minority movement before the farmers, and other movements are going on for their rights. So, and these kind of the things I mentioned are the major challenges of India, and a factor in the hampering progress. In the 21st century India, caste and gender discrimination is still an important and debatable issue. And despite government's policy of sabka saath sabka vikas, the situation on ground is not so receptive and need to be relook for a greater benefit and for the national development. So these challenges I mentioned before you, and this social justice and other things I mentioned before you. So I will welcome more of your ideas, your comments, your questions on these issues. And I'm again highly thankful to the Integral University Lucknow for providing me the opportunity. Thank you very much, one and all, for providing me this platform. Now the floor is open for question, answer, and your observation or comments. Thank you very much. Hello. 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 Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And you you gave a very important lecture in which you are talking about many important things. And I personally observed and learned so many things from your lecture. And I think on this National Constitution Day, the way and the things you have mentioned in your lecture were really of paramount importance for us, and or a student or participant or faculty members have definitely learned so many things from your lecture, sir. And particularly you mentioned about that the beginning of the constitution, and from the beginning of the constitution to the now the more transformative moves in terms of the sabka saath sabka vikas and sabka vishwas, and incorporating all the citizens of India for the benefits of our constitution. Sir, we have a few questions. If you allow us for this question, can we ask, sir?
Sure, most welcome. That is the most important part of the lecture.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you, sir, for allowing us for asking these questions. So first of all, one of our participant asked that uh, or founding members have founding members were many people, or founding members were in the Constituent Assembly, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was extensively credited for the making and drafting this constitution. So it would be appropriate to give all the credit to the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, or there were also role played by many people to drafting this constitution, making this constitution.
Actually, yeah. Should I answer now?
Yes, sir. Sir.
Actually, B.R. Ambedkar, why we are giving importance to the B.R. Ambedkar? Because he was the
Hmm.
person who primarily focused on
Hmm.
the social justice. That he talked about the
Hmm.
equality. Because what kind of the equality?
Hmm.
Because there was a large caste discrimination in India before, and
Hmm.
the kind of the untouchables. Even Gandhi mentions that we cannot get Swaraj
Hmm.
if we are not going to
Hmm.
eliminate the threat of the untouchables rights. We are not going to incorporate the right of the untouchables. So many things
Hmm.
that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the
Hmm.
champion in that cause. But
Hmm.
so many people, Rajendra Prasad, Vallabhbhai Patel, and in the Constituent Assembly debate, so many
Hmm.
people were working day and night, and by the healthy debate, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, Nehru, all
Hmm.
people were the part of parcel of the uh,
Hmm.
Constituent Assembly debate. So after
Hmm.
so much deliberations by different
Hmm.
leaders of that time, and that we got our this document in terms of our Constitution of India. So B.R. Ambedkar is having prominence just because he fought for the cause of. He was having so much disagreement with the people during the Constituent Assembly, and he was firm when the right of the minorities or the right of the untouchables were protected and the reservation system came. Then that's why he is called the champion of social justice in terms of with reference to the Indian Constitution.
Yes. Uh, Sir, our second participant asked about the just that you have mentioned that basic structure doctrine, and what is the meaning of the supremacy of the constitution? Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Hello, hello, hello.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes, sir. Due to the technical problem, I could not listen to you. So thank
No,
you
I
very
was
much,
not
sir.
having
One more
technical
question.
problem. Did you get the answer of my second your second question or not?
Mm, no, sir. I couldn't listen. I couldn't hear it properly. So if you
No
repeat it,
problem.
it would be.
I was saying why our constitution is a supreme document, because we
Hmm,
everybody is having their own kind of the fundamental rights. If your
hmm,
fundamental rights are being violated, you are having a different kind of the judicial system. Judiciary is another
hmm,
balancing
hmm,
for that matter.
hmm,
And for the
hmm,
welfare of the people, several
hmm,
policies are being introduced, and that is also in the spirit of the constitution, that we are having
hmm,
the bicameral legislature. Then
hmm,
this law is coming into the effect. And for
hmm,
the,
hmm,
if there is a violation of those particular rights, we are having our judiciary for that matter. So this,
hmm.
that's why our constitution is having a kind of the supreme upper hand. Yeah, next please.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Our next participant want to ask about the impact of French Revolution on our constitution makers.
Impact of French Revolution.
Yes, yes.
French Revolution, actually, when we talk of French Revolution, then we see that what happened during the French Revolution was very important. That the kind of the, that uh, in the French Revolution, this was the kind of main concern of the human rights. Then when we talk of the Declaration of the Human Rights, or when we talk the rights of the men, so that is having a great impact in our constitution. And because this French Revolution came uh, out of the abolishment of monarchy, and
Yes, sir.
this the cause of the human rights was the paramount for, and that we can see in the, in terms of the universal declaration of the human rights, and it impacts on our constitution.
Yes, sir. And particularly, sir, the motto of the French Revolution that liberty, equality, and
Of
fraternity,
course,
and
of
largely
course, of
impact
course.
our freedom. Yes, sir. So one of our faculty member asked about that it was initially assumed that
Hmm.
the influence of the socialism and the socialist perspective will greatly impact on our constitution. Are
Hmm.
we really moved with the socialist perspective with our constitution?
Without.
Yeah. So do we really move on the socialist perspective in our constitutions?
Actually, social perspective we took because you see all the nationalized system that we are seeing in the present time, these whole institutions we are seeing, like J- Jawaharlal Nehru was the architect of that, for that matter, and this whole
Yes.
institutions were just created because to give the more benefit to the all sectors of the society. This whole discourse of the public institutions is just part and
Hmm.
parcel of the social policy, socialist policy.
Hmm.
So in this regard, that when we are seeing in terms of theory or in terms of practice, that we are seeing the impact of this particular thing, every policy is
Hmm.
coming for all the people of the citizen. So everybody is
Hmm.
being represented for that matter. But this social justice or whole justice system, if we go on the ground, having different
Hmm.
dimension in the sense that if we since some people from the law background might be there, that whatever they are just studying in their theory, it's not there in the courts. The court system is different, whatever they are studying. Our documents are different. When we are going to the ground, that is different. So justice for a common man is now a challenge in the in
Yes.
the in the contemporary system. And
Yes. Yes. Sir.
how justice is being delayed to a common man. So it is for example, if you are going to going to file a case, so it is
Hmm.
going to take 10 to 20 years to settle a case. It means the whole discourse of the justice is going to be, that threatened or defeated
Hmm.
for that matter. And this justice now, or the social justice or the justice, now we can see a great divide among rich and poor. So
Hmm.
the kind of the exploitative practices, since I will just give one example here, that we are having a security arrangement in our university.
Hmm.
When I was studying in AMU, when we were having a full-fledged department for the security, we are having proctor office here, and different staffs were there, like security office and other kind of the
Hmm.
lower kind of people there. Those were handling the affairs of security inside the campus. But when I move to the new institutions, I see they are hiring people. They are just giving a contact to the people, and there were some agitations by those people, because after
Hmm.
6 months or 8 months they are being removed on their salaries are like very low when we compare with the salaries that even they are not compared with the peon salary in the present context. So this kind of the private actors or the privatization, it's a kind of a threat to the, that justice, because we are having a massive employment on ground. So they are having so many options with the people. Some people are working in
Hmm.
10,000, and another will become we want to work in 8,000. So this kind of, because they want to run their daily affairs, and so
Hmm.
this need to be look from the policy perspective by the governments, because government
Hmm.
is more concerned of the privatization right now, because our economy is not in good shape, despite we are a rising power, but our economy is not in good shape. We are having serious problem of poverty and employment. So this kind of the problems or this kind of the discourse is being the people are being harassed, and people are forced to work in those conditions. And for
Hmm.
justice, we just take an example of Salman Khan, for instance, that the higher courts couldn't prove that who killed that deer. It
Yes.
looks
Sir.
like a deer committed suicide. It was not killed by anyone. So this kind of the discourse we are having, if you are having money power, you are having then you can be free. If you are a free
Hmm.
man, uh, but
Hmm.
for the poor man, justice is just like a dream. That's why people are
Yes.
settling out of the court. This kind of the gundaism structure, that people are going to the
Hmm.
criminals for their daily affairs. They are not going to court
Hmm.
or the police. If they are going to police
Hmm.
station to fire a FIR, then they need to pay in
Hmm.
police station. Then in court, they are
Hmm.
having a different kind of delayed mechanism. So like that. So
Hmm.
so we can say that this kind of the justice system or the delivery of the social justice is not proper. It is having a kind of division of rich and poor.
Hmm. Thank you, sir. So, though we have many questions, but we would like to
No
only
problem. If you are having
ask
time,
one.
you can continue. You can
Yeah,
continue
no,
when you
no,
are
sir.
having time. I have no issue with the time.
But Yes, but we have to also keep in mind time of you, because you have
No issue,
your
no
time
issue.
is so precious for us.
It's up to you.
Sir, last question, sir. Uh, Sir, the role of the independent judiciary in
Hmm.
promoting and protecting our constitutional values.
It's a very important question. So, role of judiciary.
Hmm.
Judiciary's role is protecting is very much important in this kind of environment where there is a lot of debate in the limits of freedom of expression. For instance, some people are being jailed, some people are being punished. For example, take just latest example of Azam Khan, for instance. So you just compare the speech of Azam Khan with the others of the ruling party people, then you will realize that what kind of that arrangement is going on in terms of the limits of freedom of expression, because some people who have openly given the hate speech, even threatened to some minority groups, they are free and they are being rewarded for that matter. And the people, their intent in that particular speech was very low, but they are being punished for that matter. So this kind of the discourse is going on. Again, you can see so many people who agitated in different protests, they are being jailed for that matter. But some people who opened fire on those particular protesters and they did wrong doings, they are just free. So this kind of the discourse is also there. So the role of judiciary becomes very important here. How judiciary treat this kind of the things, because when we are talking of equality, everyone is equal before law. But sometimes the question arises on the functioning of judiciary, the functioning of the system, the functioning of bureaucracy. These are the very important part to uphold the values of the constitution. And sometime, not in all cases, but in some cases, the kind of selectivism we can see. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. We will definitely send you all remaining questions to you, and our participant or student will definitely wait for your answers. So now I would like to end of this discussion, and thank you very much, sir, and thank you very much for your continuous efforts, and your the way in which you answer all those questions is highly appreciable to us. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to move towards the vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to extend a sincere thanks to our professor, to our founder, honorable founder and chancellor, Professor S.W. Akhtar, who established this university. And by establishing this university, he illuminated the light of knowledge in common man. Secondly, I would like to extend a sincere thanks to our pro chancellor, Professor Nadeem Akhtar, who technically fashioned and gave a youthful flavor in this university. And I also extend my sincere thanks to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Javed Musarraf, and who is a renowned academician and whose name doesn't need any kind of introduction. And he further provided us the inputs to organize such programs and support. Now, I would like to show my sincere gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Professor Aslam Khan, and who have extensive knowledge and loaded experience. And I thought uh, with you I thought the lecture on National Constitution Day would be inappropriate if anyone else without you is going to speak on this topic, sir. And we have learned so many things from this lecture, or student will definitely get so many things from you. And your lecture was really illuminated and of paramount importance, not only for our beloved student or participant, but also our faculty members to further and to enhance their research and teaching skills. Now, I also wanted to thank Professor Shahid Ali Khan, or Dean Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, who guides us in organizing such program. Again, I would like to thank my sincere thanks to our HOD, Professor Zeba Akil, who makes tireless efforts for organizing such academic programs regularly and maintain the spirit and ethos of knowledge in the department. Now I would like to thank Dr. Soumya Pandey, mm, who make a important contribution for making successful this program. Now I would also like to thank our faculty members, in particularly Dr. Khurshid Alam, Dr. Shainaz, Dr. Zishan Wasi, Mr. Anil Kumar Singh, and rest of the faculty members for their needy presence and assistance. Last but not least, I would like to extend my thanks to our student and participant whose presence were very important, and without them any program cannot be possible and meet the successful achievement. Thank you very much. Again, I would like to thank my speaker. Thank you, sir, for for your precious time and and your valuable inputs in your lectures. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. Most welcome. It
Thank
was a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you very much.
thank you.